The debris field stretched across space like a graveyard of metal and shattered dreams. Twisted hull plates tumbled slowly in the void, reflecting starlight from a dozen different angles. Small fires still burned in pockets where oxygen remained trapped, creating an eerie constellation of orange and red against the black. Rollis pressed his three-fingered hand against the viewport and felt his chest tighten. Another colony ship destroyed. Another group of refugees who would never reach their destination. The Centaurian captain had seen too many scenes like this in his 15 years running rescue operations for the Galactic Refugee Council. Each one carved a deeper wound in his faith that the galaxy could be a safe place. Scan shows one escape pod still intact. His sensor operator called out. It's small. Maybe a maintenance pod converted for emergency use. Life signs? Rollis asked, though he tried not to hope too hard. 2. Both faint but stable. That changed everything. Rollis straightened up and began issuing orders. Within minutes, his crew had maneuvered their ship close enough to grab the pod with their tractor beam. The small metal sphere looked like it had been through a war. Scorch marks covered one side, and several panels were missing entirely. The rescue team brought it into the cargo bay with careful precision. Prin, the medical officer, waited with her equipment ready. She was Velish, tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed almost translucent under the bright lights. Her people were known for their gentle nature and advanced medical knowledge, but they were also fragile. A strong breeze could knock a Velish over. Atmospheric seal is holding, one of the technicians reported. Opening now. The pod's hatch hissed and swung outward. Rollis stepped forward, expecting to see adults, maybe injured crew members from the destroyed ship. Instead, he found something that made him stop completely. A child lay curled up in the emergency seat, held in place by safety straps that seemed far too large. The young human couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 years old, with dark hair matted with dried blood and freckles standing out against pale skin. Torn clothing hung from a small frame, and both hands clutched a datapad like it was the most precious thing in the universe. But that wasn't what made the entire rescue team freeze. Next to the child, strapped into a makeshift harness someone had welded to the pod's wall, was an animal. It was about the size of a medium cargo container, covered in thick gray and black fur with a stocky body and short legs. Its face was broad with small eyes, and even unconscious from the pod's emergency sedation system, it looked dangerous. Scars crisscrossed its body, old wounds that spoke of a violent past. What is that? Lieutenant Bray asked. The Hepton security officer towered over everyone else at nearly 3 meters tall, but he kept his distance from the pod. His hand rested on his weapon. Prin approached slowly, her scanner humming as it collected data. The child is human. From Earth. The animal is also from Earth, but I have no record of this species in my database. She glanced at her screen. Wait, here it is. They call it a honey badger. Honey? Rollis repeated. That sounds harmless. The database has very limited information, Prin continued, reading as she talked. It says honey badgers are small predators known for their aggressive nature and remarkable resilience. There are multiple warnings here about handling them. She looked up. But surely that's exaggerated. Look at how small it is. And the child is even smaller. They must have been pets on the colony ship. Bray laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Pets, these tiny things? Earth must be a very safe world if creatures this size are considered dangerous. The child stirred, making a small sound of pain. Immediately, the animal's eyes snapped open. Even sedated, it was alert in seconds, those small eyes fixed on the rescue team, and a low sound came from its throat that made everyone step back. Easy, Prin said softly. We're here to help. The child's eyes opened slowly. For a moment, confusion filled them. Then memory returned and tears began to fall. The young human looked around frantically, saw the animal, and some of the panic faded. It's okay, Scraps, the child whispered, voice rough and broken. We're safe now. The honey badger's aggressive posture relaxed slightly, but its eyes never left the aliens surrounding them. Rollis knelt down carefully, making himself smaller and less threatening. Hello, young one. My name is Rollis. You're aboard a refugee rescue ship. You're safe here. Can you tell me your name? Danny, the child managed. My name is Danny. Where are you hurt, Danny? Everywhere, came the honest answer. The ship exploded. Mom and Dad, they put me in the pod. They said they'd follow, but... Fresh tears fell. Prin's expression softened with understanding. We'll take care of you. Both of you. Can we move you to our medical bay? Danny nodded slowly. As the medical team carefully released the safety straps, Scraps watched every movement. When they lifted Danny onto a floating stretcher, the honey badger tried to follow, still groggy from the sedation. The animal needs to be secured, Bray said firmly. We don't know how dangerous it might be. He stays with me, Danny said, suddenly fierce despite the injuries. Scraps stays with me or I don't go anywhere. Rollis and Prin exchanged glances. The captain made a decision. Very well. The animal comes too, but we'll need to keep it sedated until we know more about its behavior. He won't hurt you if I tell him not to. Danny said quietly, Scraps is my friend. They brought both child and animal to the medical bay. Prin worked carefully, treating burns and bruises while Danny drifted in and out of consciousness. Scraps lay on a nearby table, sedated but breathing steadily. The medical scan showed surprising results. Both the human and the honey badger had bone density far above what Prin expected. Their muscle structure was incredibly compact and efficient. This doesn't make sense, she muttered to herself. For creatures this small, they're built like armored soldiers. Hours passed. Danny slept, exhausted beyond measure. Scraps woke once, looked at the child and settled back down as if satisfied that his human was safe. The crew gathered outside the medical bay, talking in hushed voices about the orphaned child and strange animal they'd rescued. What do we do with them? One crew member asked. Take them to the nearest human outpost, I suppose, another replied. Poor thing. So small and helpless. Rollis listened but said nothing. Something about the way that animal had looked at them bothered him. Those weren't the eyes of a pet. Those were the eyes of something that knew how to survive. Late in the ship's night cycle, alarms began to sound. The sensor operator's voice came over the communication system, tight with fear. Captain, we have a problem. There's a ship approaching. It's broadcasting pirate identification codes. Rollis felt ice form in his stomach. He recognized those codes. It was the same raider group that had destroyed the colony transport. They'd come back to pick through the wreckage, looking for salvage and survivors to sell. In the medical bay, Danny's eyes opened in the darkness, hearing the alarms. The child's hand reached out and found Scraps's fur. The honey badger was already awake, aware of the danger before any alarm had sounded. Not again. Danny whispered into the dark. Please, not again. But the pirates were already preparing to dock with the rescue ship, and the crew of the Mercy of Stars had no idea what was coming. Red emergency lights painted everything in shades of blood. The alarm's wail echoed through the corridors of the Mercy of Stars, and crew members ran to their emergency stations. Most of them had never been in real danger before. Rescue work was supposed to be safe, protected by galactic law and common decency. Pirates weren't supposed to attack medical vessels, but these pirates didn't care about laws. Rollis stood in the command center, watching the approaching ship grow larger on his screens. It was a Krell raider vessel, ugly and efficient, covered in weapons and scarred from countless battles. The Krell were reptilian creatures who built their entire culture around taking what they wanted from those too weak to stop them. They're hailing us, his communication officer said, voice shaking. Put them through. A face appeared on the screen that made several crew members gasp. The Krell captain was massive, with scales the color of old bronze and eyes that held no mercy. When he spoke, his teeth showed sharp and numerous. Refugee ship, you are in our salvage zone. You will transfer all recovered materials and survivors to us immediately. Resist and we will take them anyway, along with your ship. Rollis felt his throat go dry. This is a protected medical vessel. You can't. We can, the Krell interrupted. And we will. You have 10 minutes to prepare for docking. The screen went dark. Silence filled the command center for a heartbeat, then everyone started talking at once. Bray wanted to fight. Others wanted to run. Some suggested hiding the survivors and claiming they found nothing in the debris field. We have to protect the refugees, Prin said firmly. She'd come from the medical bay, leaving Danny in the care of her assistant, especially the child. You know what the Krell do with younglings. Everyone knew. The Krell sold children to various parts of the galaxy, to people who valued exotic slaves and trophies. A human child would be worth a fortune on the black market simply because humans were so rare in this part of space. Secure all refugees in the protected compartments, Rollis ordered, hating how defeated he sounded. Maybe we can negotiate. Maybe they'll just take the salvage and leave. Bray moved quickly. gathering crew members to escort all the rescued refugees deeper into the ship where reinforced doors might slow the pirates down. When he reached the medical bay, he found Danny sitting up in bed, wide awake and alert despite the injuries. "You need to come with us," Bray said, trying to sound gentle. His people weren't known for gentleness, but he could try. "We're moving everyone to safety." "They're the same ones," Danny said quietly. "The same pirates who destroyed our ship. I recognize that vessel type. All the more reason to hide you away. Come on." Danny slid out of the bed, moving stiffly. Scraps immediately jumped down as well, staying close to the child's legs. The honey badger's posture was different now, no longer groggy or confused. Every muscle was tense and ready. "The animal needs to be sedated again," Bray said. "We can't risk it causing problems if the pirates board us." "No," Danny said simply. "Child, I don't think you understand the danger." "I understand perfectly." Danny's voice was steady now, older than it should have been. "You're scared. Your whole crew is scared, but you don't understand what you have on this ship." Bray stared down at the small human. "What are you talking about?" "Scraps and me. We're from Earth." "Yes, we know that." "What does—" "Earth is a death world," Danny continued, and something in those young eyes made the huge security officer pause. "Our planet tried to kill us every day. Everything there is stronger, faster, more dangerous than it should be. We survived because we learned to fight back." Before Bray could respond, Scraps suddenly tensed and made a low growling sound. The honey badger's attention was fixed on the corridor outside the medical bay. "They're boarding already," Danny said. "I can hear them." Bray listened and heard nothing. His species had excellent hearing, better than humans according to all the databases. But Danny seemed certain. Then faintly he heard it too. Metal on metal. Cutting tools. The pirates weren't waiting for permission. They were forcing their way in. "We need to move now," Bray said, reaching for Danny's arm. Scraps moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. One moment the honey badger was on the floor. The next it had launched itself at Bray's arm. Teeth sank through the security officer's uniform and into flesh. Bray roared in pain and surprise, stumbling backward. Another crew member tried to grab Scraps and got clawed across the chest hard enough to tear through clothing and leave bloody furrows. "Scraps, stop," Danny commanded. The honey badger released Bray immediately and returned to Danny's side. Blood on its muzzle, but eyes calm and focused. Bray clutched his bleeding arm, staring at the child and animal in shock. "That thing is vicious. It should be destroyed before it kills someone." "He's protecting me," Danny said. "Because you tried to separate us, and right now separation means death." "Scraps knows that even if you don't." Prin arrived, drawn by the commotion. She saw the wounds and immediately started treating them. But her eyes kept darting to the honey badger with new understanding. "The database said they were aggressive. I didn't realize it meant this aggressive." "You don't understand," Danny said, frustration clear in the young voice. "None of you understand. We're Deathworlders. We're not supposed to be easy. We're supposed to survive." A massive crash echoed through the ship. The pirates had breached the outer hull. Rollis's voice came over the communication system. "All crew, the pirates are boarding. Do not resist. I repeat, do not resist. Let them take what they want." Danny's hands clenched into fists. "You're all going to die, and they're going to take everyone and sell you as slaves. Unless you let me help you." Bray would have laughed if his arm didn't hurt so much. "You're a child, a small injured child with a vicious pet. What could you possibly do against armed Krell pirates?" Danny looked up at the security officer, and in that moment, Bray saw something that chilled him more than the approaching pirates. The child wasn't afraid. Not even a little bit. There was only cold calculation in those eyes. "Scraps isn't a pet," Danny said quietly. "He's a weapon. One of Earth's perfect weapons. And you just locked him and me in a ship full of targets." More crashes came from deeper in the vessel. Screams followed. The pirates were moving through the ship and they weren't being gentle. "Let us help," Danny said again. "Or watch everyone die." Rollis's voice came again, tighter now with fear. "They're taking hostages. They're rounding everyone up in the cargo bay." Danny moved toward the door, and this time no one tried to stop the child. Scraps padded alongside, that low growl constant now. At the doorway, Danny paused and looked back at Bray and Prin. "On Earth, honey badgers fight lions," the child said. "They fight snakes that can kill with one bite. They fight everything, and they don't stop until the threat is gone. They're pound for pound the most fearless animals on my planet." "And humans?" Prin asked softly. Danny's expression was grim. We're the only species that thought keeping them as companions was a good idea. The child disappeared into the corridor with Scraps, leaving the two aliens staring after them. Bray finally broke the silence. What have we done? We locked a Deathworld predator and its human inside our ship. Prin was already pulling up Earth data on her tablet, her eyes growing wider with each entry she read. Bray, look at this. Earth's gravity is nearly double standard. The oxygen content is higher. The temperature swings are extreme. The radiation levels would kill most species, and so everything from that planet is built to survive conditions that would destroy us. We didn't rescue prey animals. Her voice dropped to a whisper. We rescued apex predators. In the cargo bay, the Krell pirates were laughing as they herded the frightened crew together. They hadn't found anything valuable yet, but the ship itself would sell well, and the crew would bring a decent price as laborers. Above them, in the ventilation system, Danny and Scraps moved silently through the darkness. The child's small size was an advantage here, and the honey badger's compact body squeezed through spaces that should have been too small. Danny pulled out the datapad, the one carried from the destroyed colony ship. On it were schematics, information, and most importantly, access codes. The child's parents had been engineers. They'd taught Danny everything about how ships worked. Now it was time to show these pirates what happened when you threatened a human's pack. The ventilation system of the Mercy of Stars hadn't been designed with stealth in mind. It rattled and hummed as air circulated through the ship. But Danny had learned long ago how to move quietly, how to place weight carefully, how to become invisible even when people were looking. Life on the colony frontier taught children to be useful or be in the way, and Danny had chosen useful. Scraps moved beside the child with even more skill. Honey badgers were built for digging through solid earth, squeezing into termite mounds and navigating underground tunnels. A ship's ventilation system was easy by comparison. Through the metal grating below, Danny could see the cargo bay. All the crew members were gathered there, sitting on the floor with their hands visible. 8 Krell pirates stood guard, weapons ready, while more pirates searched the rest of the ship for valuables. Their leader, the massive captain from the screen, walked among the hostages like a predator inspecting his prey. You picked a bad day to be heroes, the Krell captain said, his translator making his hissing language into words the crew could understand. This salvage was ours. These refugees were ours. Now your ship is ours too. He paused in front of Rollis. Where is the human child? The crew captain's face went pale. I don't know what you mean. The Krell's clawed hand moved faster than a strike of lightning, grabbing Rollis by the throat and lifting him off the ground. Don't lie to me. We scanned the wreckage. We know there was an escape pod. We know it held a human youngling. Where is it? Medical bay. One of the other crew members blurted out, terrified. But there's an animal with it. A dangerous animal. The Krell captain laughed, dropping Rollis back to the floor. Dangerous, please. Everything from Earth is supposed to be dangerous. Humans love to make themselves sound impressive. But they're just another weak species that got lucky enough to reach the stars before their world killed them. He gestured to 2 of his pirates. Go find the human spawn. Kill the animal if it gives you trouble. The child will sell for enough to make this whole raid worthwhile. Danny watched the 2 pirates leave the cargo bay, heading toward the medical section. The child's hands moved over the datapad, accessing the ship's systems. One of the benefits of being underestimated was that no one thought to lock a child out of the important controls. The first pirate reached the medical bay and found it empty. Nothing here, Captain. Then search the ship. It's a child, not a trained infiltrator. But Danny was exactly that. Years on a frontier colony meant learning to hide from dangerous wildlife, learning to move through tight spaces to repair equipment, learning that size didn't matter as much as timing and intelligence. The child had been preparing for this moment since the alarm first sounded. A pirate walked beneath the ventilation grate where Danny crouched. The Krell was big, covered in weapons, and completely confident. He never thought to look up. Danny pressed a command on the datapad. The grate unlocked and fell, striking the pirate in the head hard enough to stagger him. Before he could recover, Scraps dropped from above like a fury-coated missile. The honey badger's claws found purchase on the pirate's back, and teeth sank into the soft spot where the reptilian's neck met his shoulder. The Krell screamed, a sound of shock and pain. He tried to reach back and grab the animal, but Scraps was already moving, biting and clawing with a speed that seemed impossible. In nature documentaries, honey badgers fought cobras and won. They attacked lions that got too close. They never ever backed down. This Krell pirate was just another threat to eliminate. Danny dropped down next, landing in a role that the child's parents had taught for fun. It wasn't fun anymore. It was survival. The pirate's weapon had fallen to the floor. Danny grabbed it, finding it too heavy to lift properly. Instead, the child dragged it into the nearby equipment room and sealed the door. The pirate was still struggling with scraps, blood flowing from multiple wounds. The honey badger's thick skin and loose hide made it nearly impossible to grab properly. Every time the Krell got a grip, scraps just twisted and bit again. Finally, the pirate managed to throw the animal against a wall. Scraps hit hard but immediately rolled back to his feet, ready for more. The wound in the Krell's neck was serious. He stumbled trying to call for help, but his communication device had been damaged in the fight. Danny stepped out of the equipment room, now holding a much smaller tool. It was just a maintenance torch, but in the child's hands it looked like a weapon. "Leave," Danny said quietly. "Leave this ship and these people, or I'll show you what Earth really means." The pirate laughed, even though blood dripped from his wounds. "A human child with a torch? You think that scares me?" He lunged forward, claws extended. Danny was already moving, smaller and faster. The torch's flame caught the pirate's arm, burning through scales. More importantly, it hit his ammunition belt. The chemical reaction was immediate and violent. Small explosions rippled across the pirate's body, not enough to kill, but more than enough to send him running back toward the cargo bay, screaming for help. In the cargo bay, the Krell captain's head snapped up at the sound. "What's happening out there?" The burned pirate stumbled through the door, his armor smoking and his body covered in burns. The human child attacked us, and there's something wrong with that animal. It won't stop. It doesn't feel pain. It just keeps attacking." The captain stared at his injured crew member in disbelief. "You let a child and a pet do this to you?" "It's not a pet," the pirate gasped. "It's a monster." The ship's communication system crackled to life. Danny's young voice filled every speaker throughout the vessel. "Krell pirates, this is your only warning. Leave this ship now. Leave these people alone. Go back to your vessel and never return." The Krell captain's eyes narrowed. "Or what, little human? You'll scratch us with your tiny claws?" There was a pause, and when Danny spoke again, the voice was colder. "Or I'll teach you why humans are called apex predators." The captain laughed and gestured to 4 more of his pirates. "Go find that child. Bring it to me. I want to see this fearsome human with my own eyes before we sell it." The pirates moved out in pairs, weapons ready, more cautious now after seeing what happened to their comrade. They moved through the corridors of the Mercy of Stars like trained soldiers, checking corners and covering each other's movements. They never heard Danny coming. The child had lived on a frontier colony where dangerous animals hunted in the night. Moving silently was second nature. When the first pair of pirates passed beneath an access panel, Danny was already there. A container of caustic cleaning solution, the kind used to strip old paint from hull plates, tipped and poured down on them. Their screams filled the corridor. The chemicals burned through their protective scales, and they fled back toward the cargo bay, temporarily blinded and in agony. The second pair of pirates learned from this and stayed away from access panels. But Danny had more tricks. The child led them through corridors and into the engineering section, where the ship's systems were exposed. Scraps appeared from a side passage, driving the pirates toward a specific section of floor. Danny hit a command on the datapad and the floor panels opened. It was just a maintenance pit, only 2 meters deep, but it was filled with coolant fluid. The pirates fell in, cursing and struggling in the thick liquid that made movement nearly impossible. Back in the cargo bay, the Krell captain watched his crew return one by one, injured and humiliated. His confidence was beginning to crack. "It's one child. A human child barely large enough to reach my knee. How are you all failing to catch one child?" Prin, still sitting with the other hostages, spoke up quietly. "Because you don't understand what you're facing." Silence. The captain roared, but Prin continued, her voice steady despite her fear. "I've been reading about Earth. It's not just a dangerous world. It's a nightmare world. The gravity would crush most of us. The radiation would kill us. The predators there don't just hunt for food. They hunt for sport. They hunt for territory. They never stop. And humans?" the captain asked mockingly. "Humans are the apex predators of a world full of apex predators." Prin said. They're not the strongest or the fastest or the most venomous, but they're the smartest. They plan, they use tools, they adapt. And most dangerous of all, they protect their pack with absolute ferocity. That's just a child, the captain said, but his voice had less certainty now. That child has already injured 6 of your trained soldiers, Prin replied. What do you think will happen when it stops playing defensive? The Krell captain opened his mouth to respond, but Danny's voice came over the speakers again. Last chance. Leave now. Never, the captain shouted at the ceiling. You're trapped on this ship with us, little human. We'll find you eventually. Danny's response was quiet and chilling. You're wrong about one thing. You're not trapped in here with me. There was a pause and the lights in the cargo bay flickered. I'm trapped in here with you. The emergency systems engaged. Atmospheric scrubbers kicked into a different mode, one designed to reduce oxygen in case of fire. The air grew thinner just slightly, just enough that the aliens began to feel tired. But Danny, raised in Earth's thicker atmosphere, felt nothing at all. And somewhere in the darkness of the ship's corridors, Scraps prowled, hunting the hunters, showing them what it meant to face a creature that feared nothing. The Krell captain felt it first, that subtle wrongness in the air. His lungs worked, harder to pull in oxygen that wasn't quite as rich as it should be. Around him, his crew members started breathing heavier, moving slower. The hostages felt it too, their faces showing confusion and growing panic. Only one group seemed unaffected. Prin noticed it as she watched the security feeds on a damaged display panel nearby. The child and the honey badger moved through the ship with unchanged energy, their movements still quick and precise while everyone else began to slow down. The oxygen levels, she whispered to Rollis. That clever child is lowering the oxygen content. Won't that hurt the child too? Rollis asked, his own breathing becoming labored. Earth's atmosphere is richer in oxygen than standard galactic levels, Prin explained. What's tiring us is still normal for them. The child is literally fighting us with the very air we breathe. The Krell captain heard this and snarled. He activated his suit's sealed environment mode and his breathing normalized. All crew, activate environmental seals. We're not going to be beaten by atmosphere tricks. But only half his remaining pirates had suits with that capability. The others continued to struggle, their movements becoming sluggish. In nature, predators hunted the weak and tired. Now the Krell were learning what it felt like to be the tired ones. Another pirate's scream echoed through the ship, cutting off suddenly. The captain's communication crackled with a panicked voice. It got Hessick. The animal just appeared from nowhere and took him down. I'm heading back to the cargo bay. But that pirate never made it. They found him later, unconscious in a corridor, with deep claw marks and bite wounds covering his body. Scraps had been efficient and brutal, then disappeared back into the shadows before anyone could respond. The Krell captain made a decision. We're leaving the cargo bay. We find the human, we kill the animal, and we end this now. He took his 5 remaining functional pirates and left the hostages under guard of 2 injured crew members. The hunting party moved through the ship with weapons drawn, scanning for any sign of the child or the honey badger. They were trained soldiers, experienced raiders who had boarded hundreds of ships. One human child shouldn't have been able to stop them. Yet corridor after corridor was empty. Systems sparked and failed as they passed, evidence of sabotage. Emergency doors sealed behind them, forcing them to take longer routes. Someone had turned the ship itself into a weapon against them. This is impossible, one pirate muttered. The child is 9 years old. How does it know how to do all this? Danny, listening through tapped communication lines, almost laughed. 9 years old on a frontier colony meant 9 years of learning to survive. It meant helping parents repair life support systems when they failed. It meant understanding that one wrong wire could kill everyone in the habitat. It meant growing up fast because the universe didn't care about childhood. The Krell captain reached a junction where 3 corridors met. He gestured for his crew to spread out, checking each direction. That was his first mistake. The second was not looking up. Danny dropped from an overhead panel, landing on the captain's shoulders. Small hands grabbed the communication equipment on his helmet and yanked hard, ripping wires loose. Before the captain could react, The child had jumped off and disappeared into a maintenance shaft too small for adult aliens to follow. "After it!" the captain roared. But his crew couldn't fit through the opening. They tried to circle around to where the shaft led, but by the time they got there, Danny was gone. Scraps appeared instead, erupting from a side passage with all the fury Earth had bred into his species. The honey badger went for the nearest pirate's legs, powerful jaws clamping down and refusing to let go. The pirate fell, trying to shake the animal off, but Scraps held on with the determination that made his kind legendary. Another pirate aimed, his weapon at the honey badger, but Danny's voice stopped him. "Shoot him and I'll blow the fusion core, we'll all die." The pirate hesitated, finger on the trigger. Could a child really do that? Could anyone be that desperate? The Krell captain knew the answer. He'd seen desperate before. He'd created desperate through his raids and his cruelty, and desperate creatures were the most dangerous ones. "Stand down," he ordered his crew. "We're leaving." "Captain?" one pirate asked in disbelief. "This isn't worth it. The ship is compromised. The human has proven more resourceful than expected. We take what we can carry and leave before the situation gets worse." But Danny wasn't done. The child's voice came from all around them, echoing through speakers. "You attacked my home ship. You killed my parents. You came here thinking you could take more innocent people. Why would I let you leave?" "Because we'll kill every hostage if you don't," the captain said coldly. "Your choice, little human. Let us leave with our lives, or watch everyone on this ship die." Silence filled the corridors. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Danny spoke again and the tone had changed. The cold calculation was still there, but something else had entered the equation. "Scraps, release." The honey badger let go of the pirate's leg and backed away, still growling but no longer attacking. The pirate scrambled backward, blood streaming from multiple puncture wounds. "Go back to your ship," Danny said. "Take your crew and leave. But know this. If you ever attack another refugee vessel, if you ever harm another innocent person trying to find safety, I will find you. I'll grow up. I'll get stronger. And I'll hunt you down." The Krell captain laughed, trying to sound confident. "Bold words from a child." "I'm a human child," Danny corrected. "From Earth. From a world that tried to kill me every single day. I survived that. I'll survive you. Will you survive me?" The captain's laughter died. Something in those words, spoken in that young but unwavering voice, cut through his bravado. He'd raided hundreds of species. He'd terrorized thousands of victims, but he'd never felt hunted until now. "Move out," he ordered his crew. Back to the ship. They retreated through the corridors, weapons ready, expecting attack at any moment. But Danny let them go, watching from hidden vents and access panels. The child wasn't stupid. Fighting was only useful if you could win. Right now, letting them leave was the smart choice. The pirates reached the cargo bay and grabbed their 2 injured crew members. The hostages watched in confusion as the raiders suddenly fled, no longer interested in slaves or salvage. But as they crossed back to their own vessel, the Krell captain triggered one final command. A dead switch, hidden and prepared for situations just like this. If he couldn't have the ship and its treasures, neither could anyone else. Deep in the Mercy of Stars engine section, a device began counting down. The captain's voice came over one last transmission, filled with spite. "You win today, human child, but you'll die anyway. I've left you a present, a bomb in your engine core. You have 10 minutes before it turns your ship into dust. Not even a Deathworlder can survive explosive decompression." The pirate vessel detached and began moving away, leaving the rescue ship floating in space with death ticking away in its heart. In the cargo bay, panic erupted among the crew and hostages. 10 minutes to evacuate, but their escape pods had been damaged in the initial boarding. There was nowhere to run. Rollis tried to take command, tried to organize something, anything. But what could they do? The bomb was hidden somewhere in the massive engine section. They'd never find it in time, and even if they did, none of them knew how to disarm Krell explosives. Then Danny's voice came over the speakers, still calm despite everything. "Captain Rollis, I need you to access the engine schematics and send them to my datapad." "Child, you can't possibly—" "I can," Danny interrupted, "and I will, But I need those schematics now, please. Prin looked at Rollis. The child has earned our trust. Give Danny what's needed. Rollis's fingers shook as he pulled up the files and transmitted them. On security feeds throughout the ship, they watched Danny sprint toward the engine room with Scraps running alongside. The child's small legs moved with desperate speed, but there was no panic in the movement, just determination. In the engine room, Danny slid to a stop and pulled up the schematics on the datapad. Complex systems, fusion cores, cooling mechanisms, and somewhere in all of it, a bomb designed to destroy everything. Where would I hide a bomb? Danny muttered, thinking like an engineer, like the parents who had taught their child everything about how ships lived and died. Somewhere that would maximize damage, somewhere hard to reach, somewhere. Scraps made a sound, a sharp bark unlike anything the honey badger had made before. He was pawing at a section of floor plating near the main cooling system. Danny ran over and dropped to the floor, pressing an ear against the metal. There. A faint humming, different from the normal engine sounds. The child grabbed tools from a nearby kit and started removing bolts as fast as small fingers could work. The panel came free, revealing a gap beneath the primary cooling pipes, and there, nestled in the gap like a metal spider, was the bomb. Its display showed 8 minutes remaining. Danny took a deep breath. Okay, just like the practice simulations. Just like Mom taught me. But this wasn't practice. This was real, and one wrong move would kill everyone on the ship. 7 minutes. The display on the bomb glowed red in the dimness of the engine room, counting down with mechanical precision. Danny's hands moved over the device carefully, examining the construction. Krell technology was brutally efficient, designed by a species that valued function over elegance. Through the ship's communication system, Prin's voice came through, steady despite the fear she must have felt. Danny, I'm pulling up what information I have on Krell explosives. They typically use a 3-stage arming system. I see it, Danny replied, small fingers tracing the connections. Primary trigger, secondary failsafe, and a pressure sensor that detonates if someone tries to move it. 6 minutes. In the cargo bay, the crew watched the security feed in silence. Some prayed to their various gods, others simply stared, unable to look away from the image of a child working to save them all. Rollis felt shame burning in his chest. He'd tried to lock this child away, had called the honey badger a dangerous animal, had treated them both like cargo to be stored safely. Now that same child was their only hope. Bray stood with his injured arm bandaged, watching Scraps on the feed. The honey badger sat next to Danny, perfectly still, as if he understood the importance of not distracting the child. Every few seconds, those small eyes would scan the room, checking for threats, protecting his human even now. I was wrong, Bray said quietly. That animal isn't vicious. It's loyal. Everything it did was to protect Danny. 5 minutes. Danny's hands worked steadily, removing the outer casing of the bomb. Inside was a maze of wires and components, all color-coded in Krell fashion. The child's parents had taught basic explosives disposal, part of frontier colony life where old mining charges sometimes needed to be made safe. But this was more complex than anything Danny had practiced on. Prin, which wire connects the primary trigger to the power source? The medical officer frantically searched her database. According to this, it should be the thick copper-colored one on the left side. Danny found it, then paused. Something didn't look right. The wire's position didn't match the schematic Prin described. Either the database was wrong or this bomb had been modified. 4 minutes. Danny? Prin's voice carried worry now. Wait. The child leaned closer, examining the connections. Years of watching parents repair delicate systems had taught Danny to see patterns, to understand how things fit together. The Krell were warriors, but they were also practical. They wouldn't make their own bombs too complicated to maintain. There. A secondary wire, almost hidden, that bypassed the primary trigger. If Danny cut the obvious wire, this hidden one would detonate the bomb immediately. It was a trap for anyone who thought they were clever. 3 minutes. Danny's fingers moved to the hidden wire instead, but it was positioned beneath a pressure plate. Touching it wrong would trigger the same result. The child needed something to hold the plate stable while cutting the wire. Scraps, hold. The honey badger moved forward at the command, placing one paw on the pressure plate exactly where Danny indicated. Steady pressure, not too much, not too little. The child had trained with Scraps for years, teaching the honey badger dozens of commands that helped with daily tasks on the colony. Neither of them ever imagined those games would become life or death skills. 2 minutes. With Scraps holding the plate steady, Danny carefully positioned a cutting tool on the hidden wire. One clean cut, no hesitation. The wire separated, and for a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the bomb's display flickered, and the countdown stopped at 1 minute and 47 seconds. In the cargo bay, crew members who had been holding their breath finally exhaled. Some started crying. Others laughed in relief. But Danny wasn't finished. A stopped countdown didn't mean a disarmed bomb. It just meant the timer wasn't working. The explosive core itself was still active and could detonate if disturbed. Prin, I need to neutralize the explosive compound. What's the procedure? The medical officer's voice was shaky with relief and renewed tension. There should be a chemical neutralizer port. It's a small valve usually marked with Krell safety symbols. Danny found it, a tiny port no bigger than a fingertip. The child opened a nearby emergency kit and searched through the contents. Frontier colonies carried all sorts of supplies, and this ship would have been stocked for various emergencies. There, a canister of industrial foam used for sealing hull breaches. It wasn't the proper neutralizer, but Danny understood chemistry well enough to know that flooding the explosive core with rapid hardening foam would prevent the chemical reaction needed for detonation. Small hands connected the canister to the port and activated it. Foam rushed into the bomb's core, expanding and hardening within seconds. The device gave a small shudder, then went completely dark. Danny sat back, exhausted. It's safe now. The cargo bay erupted in cheers. Crew members hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. They were alive. Against all odds, they were alive. Rawless ran toward the engine room, followed by Prin and several others. They found Danny sitting on the floor next to the disabled bomb, with Scraps pressed against the child's side. The honey badger's tongue licked Danny's face, and for the first time since the rescue, the child smiled. You saved us, Rawless said, dropping to his knees in front of Danny. A child saved an entire ship full of adults. I don't know how to thank you. You can start by never underestimating humans again. Danny replied, the smile fading into something more serious. We're not pets. We're not weak. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we survived by being smarter and tougher than everything that wanted us dead. Prin knelt as well, her blue skin pale from stress, but her eyes warm. I spent the last hour reading everything I could find about Earth. Your world is classified as a Class 12 death world, the highest possible rating. Your planet's gravity would crush most of us. The radiation levels would kill us in days. The predators there include creatures that hunt simply for the joy of it. And humans? Bray asked, joining them with his bandaged arm. Humans are the only species to ever become the dominant life form on a Class 12 death world. Prin continued. Not through strength or speed or natural weapons, but through intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to work together. They're pack animals like your honey badger here, but with tool-using intelligence. Danny stood up slowly, feeling every bruise and injury from the past day. Scraps isn't like me. He's better. Honey badgers don't know how to give up. They don't understand fear the way other animals do. You can hurt them, but you can't stop them. As if to prove the point, Scraps trotted over to Bray and sniffed at his bandaged arm. The security officer tensed, but the honey badger simply made a soft sound and moved on, as if apologizing for the earlier violence. We need to get you to the medical bay, Prin said to Danny. Your injuries? I'm okay, Danny interrupted. But Scraps needs checking. He took some hits during the fight. Of course, Prin smiled. Medical attention for both of you. They walked back through the corridors of the Mercy of Stars together, this strange group of aliens and one human child with a honey badger companion. Crew members they passed stopped and bowed their heads in respect. Some touched Danny's shoulder gently, whispering thanks. In the medical bay, Prin examined both Danny and Scraps thoroughly. The honey badger had several injuries that would have killed most creatures his size, but he showed no signs of distress. His thick skin and loose hide had protected vital organs, and his pain tolerance was remarkably high. Incredible, Prin muttered as she worked. His biology is almost designed for combat. Thick skin, loose hide that prevents grasping, powerful jaws, high pain tolerance. It's like evolution specifically created a perfect fighting machine. That's what happens on Earth, Danny said quietly. Everything there has to be able to defend itself. Even the prey animals are dangerous. We have deer that can kill with their hooves, rabbits that carry deadly diseases, and insects that can drop a grown human with one sting. Rollis, who had been standing quietly in the doorway, spoke up. We need to report what happened here. The Galactic Council needs to know about humans and Earth. They need to update their databases so no one else makes the same mistake we did. What mistake? Danny asked. Thinking you were weak, Rollis said simply. Thinking small meant helpless. Thinking a child couldn't be dangerous. He paused. But you are dangerous, aren't you? Even now, even injured, you're one of the most dangerous beings on this ship. Danny thought about that, then shook his head. I'm not dangerous. I'm desperate. There's a difference. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to survive and protect the people who saved me from that debris field. The child looked up at Rollis. You're my pack now. That's how humans think. We find people we care about and we protect them with everything we have. Like Scraps protects you, Prin observed. Exactly like that. We learned it from animals like him. Loyalty, pack bonding, the idea that we're stronger together than apart. A communication alert sounded. Rollis checked his display and his expression changed to surprise. There's a ship approaching. Human design. They must have picked up the distress signal from the destroyed colony transport. Danny's face lit up with hope and fear mixed together. Other humans? Yes, a rescue ship from one of the Earth colony networks. Within an hour, the human ship had docked with the Mercy of Stars. The airlock opened, and a tall woman in a worn uniform stepped through. Her eyes scanned the cargo bay until they found Danny, and her professional expression cracked into something more emotional. Survivors, she said, her voice thick. We hoped but didn't dare believe. She crossed the bay quickly and knelt in front of Danny. I'm Captain Rivers of the Colony Rescue Service. Are you hurt? Are you the only survivor? Danny nodded to both questions and tears finally came, the ones the child had been holding back through everything. Captain Rivers pulled Danny into a hug and Scraps allowed it, sensing this human was not a threat. 6 months had passed since the pirate attack on the Mercy of Stars. The rescue ship had been repaired, upgraded even, with better security systems and reinforced hull plating. But the biggest change wasn't in the ship itself. It was in how the crew understood the galaxy. Danny sat in what had become a regular teaching session, surrounded by crew members who wanted to learn. The child, now 10 years old, had grown taller but still looked small compared to most galactic species. That no longer mattered to anyone aboard. They'd learned that size was a poor measure of capability. The most important thing about Earth, Danny explained to the gathered aliens, isn't that it's dangerous. Lots of worlds are dangerous. What makes Earth special is that it's dangerous in every possible way. High gravity, intense radiation, extreme weather, aggressive predators, venomous creatures, and diseases that evolved alongside us. We didn't just survive 1 or 2 threats. We survived everything. Scraps lay at Danny's feet, calm and content. The honey badger had become something of a celebrity in the refugee fleet. Other ships requested visits just to see the legendary Earth animal that had fought off pirates. Scraps tolerated the attention with typical honey badger indifference. Prin raised her hand. She'd become close with Danny over the months, fascinated by human biology and psychology. Can you explain pack bonding again? How it affects human behavior? Danny nodded. Humans are social creatures. We survive by working together. When we decide someone is part of our pack, our family, we become extremely protective. It's not just about blood relations. It's about who stands with us, who helps us, who we trust. Like how you view this crew, Rollis observed from the back of the room. Exactly. You saved me from that debris field. You gave me a safe place when I had nothing. That makes you pack, and I'll protect my pack no matter what. A new crew member, recently transferred from another refugee vessel, spoke up hesitantly. But you're a child. Surely you can't really protect full-grown adults. The older crew members exchanged glances and small smiles. They'd learned better than to underestimate Danny. Show them the training recording from last week, Bray suggested. Prin pulled up a video on the main display. It showed Danny running through an obstacle course designed for security training. The child moved with practiced efficiency, using size as an advantage, squeezing through gaps that larger beings couldn't fit, climbing with the easy confidence of someone who'd spent years in variable gravity environments. But the most impressive part came when Danny reached the combat simulation. Against a holographic opponent twice the child's size, Danny used tactics that made the new crew members' eyes widen. Dodging, using the environment, targeting weak points, never trying to match strength against strength but instead using intelligence and speed. "Deathworlders don't fight fair," Danny said as the recording played. "Fair means equal chance of winning. We fight to survive, which means using every advantage we have." The recording ended with Danny's holographic opponent defeated. The new crew member looked at the child with new respect and maybe a touch of fear. "Don't be scared," Danny said gently. "I would never hurt anyone on this crew. You're pack. But it's important that you understand what humans are capable of, so you can work with other humans you might meet." A communication alert interrupted the lesson. Rollis checked it and smiled. "Danny, there's a message for you. From the Human Colonial Network." Danny's face lit up. Over the past months, word had spread through human settlements about the child who survived a pirate attack and saved an alien crew. Other humans wanted to meet Danny, to learn from the experience, to understand how to bridge the gap between human capabilities and galactic expectations. The message was an invitation. 3 other refugee ships in the sector wanted Danny to visit and train their crews in what they were calling Deathworld awareness. They wanted to learn how to work alongside humans without fear, and how to help humans adapt to a galaxy that hadn't expected them to be so formidable. "Will you go?" Rollis asked. Danny looked around at the crew of the Mercy of Stars, these aliens who had become family. "Only if you come with me. All of you. You understand humans now better than most species. You can help teach others." Prinz stepped forward. "We would be honored. Besides, I've been compiling a comprehensive guide to Earth species and their capabilities. The galactic databases are woefully inadequate. Especially about honey badgers," Bray added, looking down at Scraps with respect. The security officer's arm had healed, and he bore no grudge against the animal. "Everyone should know that Earth has creatures that simply don't understand the concept of giving up." Danny reached down and scratched behind Scraps' ears. The honey badger made a contented sound. "That's what I want people to understand. Being from a death world doesn't mean we're monsters. It means we know how to survive. It means we value loyalty and protection. It means we'll fight when we have to, but we'd rather live in peace." Over the following weeks, the Mercy of Stars visited 3 different refugee vessels. At each one, Danny and the crew held sessions teaching about Earth, humans, and the nature of Deathworld species. They showed recordings of the pirate attack not to boast, but to demonstrate what panic and misunderstanding could lead to. "If you meet a human," Danny would tell each new audience, "don't assume they're weak because they're smaller than you. Don't assume they're aggressive because they come from a dangerous world. Talk to them. Learn from them. Humans want the same things everyone wants: safety, community, and a chance to build something better." The sessions always ended with Scraps demonstrations. The honey badger would show his fearlessness by investigating anything placed in front of him, his intelligence by solving puzzle boxes, and his loyalty by never leaving Danny's side. Crew members who had been terrified of the animal during the pirate attack now petted him gently, understanding that his aggression was always defensive, never random. One evening, after a particularly long day of teaching, Danny sat in the observation lounge of the Mercy of Stars watching stars stream past. Captain Rivers had checked in via long-range communication earlier, pleased with how Danny was helping bridge the gap between humans and the galactic community. Rollis found the child there and sat down carefully. "You've done something remarkable, Danny. You've changed how an entire sector views your species." "I just showed them the truth," Danny replied. "Humans aren't special because we're strong. We're special because we survived a world that tried to kill us, and we did it by working together. That's what makes us Deathworlders. Not our muscles or our weapons, but our minds and our hearts. And your loyalty," Rollis added. "You could have left with Captain Rivers and the other humans. You could have gone to a colony world and lived a normal childhood. But you stayed with us." Danny smiled. "This is my pack. You're my family now. That's how humans work. We don't abandon family." Scraps padded into the lounge and jumped onto the bench between them. The honey badger curled up against Danny, and the child's hand automatically moved to rest on the animal's back. "I've been thinking," Rollis said after a moment. "The Galactic Council is updating their databases on Earth and humans. They've asked for recommendations on how to classify your species, not just physically but culturally. What would you want them to know? Danny thought carefully before answering. Tell them that humans are survivors. Tell them we're pack animals who form deep bonds. Tell them we'll protect those we care about with everything we have. Tell them we're not looking for fights, but we'll finish any fight that comes to us. And most important, tell them that being from a death world taught us to value life because we know how easily it can be lost. Rollis nodded slowly. That's good. That's very good. But I think I'll add one more thing. What's that? That humans measure strength not by what they can destroy, but by what they can protect. Danny liked that. It felt true in a way that simple descriptions of human capabilities never could be. A year after the pirate attack, Danny received word that the Krell captain who had planted the bomb had been captured by galactic authorities. He'd been raiding refugee ships across 3 sectors, but his crew had finally turned on him after their encounter with the Mercy of Stars. They claimed their captain had become paranoid, constantly checking for small humans in the ventilation systems, jumping at shadows. One of his former crew members had sent a message to Danny through official channels. It was simple. You were right. We should have left peaceful people alone. We learned what Deathworlder really means. Danny never responded to that message. There was nothing to say. The Krell had learned their lesson, and that was enough. Now, at 11 years old, Danny continued to travel with the Mercy of Stars, helping refugee crews understand humans and occasionally assisting with rescues when the crew encountered dangerous situations. The child had become a bridge between humanity and the wider galaxy, showing that Earth's children could be both gentle and fierce, both kind and capable. Scrap stayed at Danny's side through it all, the honey badger who had become a symbol of Earth itself. Fearless, loyal, impossible to stop, and utterly devoted to protecting his pack. In the quiet moments when the ship traveled between stars and the crew rested, Danny would sometimes think about the family lost in the pirate attack. The pain never fully went away, but it transformed into something else. A determination to make sure other families were protected, a commitment to helping others survive the dangers of space. That was the true meaning of being a Deathworlder. Not just surviving, but using that survival to help others. Not just being strong, but knowing when to be gentle. Not just fighting, but understanding what was worth fighting for. The galaxy was learning about humans, one encounter at a time, and Danny was teaching them that the most dangerous thing about Earth wasn't its gravity, or its predators, or its radiation. It was the fact that it produced beings who would never abandon their pack, who would face any threat to protect those they loved, who would show mercy to enemies but never stop fighting for family. Scraps yawned and stretched, his claws clicking on the deck plating. Danny smiled and scratched the honey badger's favorite spot behind his ear. Outside the observation window, stars blazed in the endless dark, and somewhere out there more humans were finding their way into the galactic community. They would face challenges, misunderstandings, and probably more than a few conflicts, but they would survive and thrive, because that's what Deathworlders did. And when people asked what made humans special, Danny would tell them about a honey badger who taught a child that the size of your body didn't matter nearly as much as the size of your heart.